Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back, distinguished members of the EAGI Committee and members of the public. We are back from recess, and the time is now 2:12 p.m. It is still April 10th, 2024, and this morning, prior to the recess, we were conducting another confirmation hearing for Mr. Anthony I. Macaronis, nominated by Governor Palacios to serve as the Commissioner of Public Safety. We will now go back to item number 3 of today's agenda, and I call on Mr. Paul Regis and the nominee, Ms. Susan R. Babauta, to join us in the chamber. Mr. Regis will introduce the nominee to the committee before we begin our proceedings for this afternoon. Mr. Regis, you may begin when you are ready.
Good afternoon, half day. Zantiro, Chairwoman Selena R. Babauta, and honorable members of the Executive Appointments and Governmental Investigations Committee. For the record, again, my name is Jean-Paul B. Regis, Acting Special Assistant for the Administration under the Office of the Governor. On behalf of Honorable Governor Arno I. Palacios and Lieutenant Governor David M. Apateng, I thank you again for the opportunity to appear before you today. I am pleased to introduce Ms. Susan R. Babauta, the Governor and Lieutenant Governor's nominee for the Commonwealth Election Commission. Ms. Babauta has an impressive record that spans over 35 years. She has made significant contributions to the Sinamay government throughout her career, driving positive change and progress in various areas. After retiring from the Sinamay public school system in 2005, she transitioned to becoming an independent educational contractor, further contributing to the betterment of our community. As dedicated as she is, her resume showcases her exceptional achievements and her unwavering commitment to serving the public. She earned her Associate of Arts degree in education from the Northern Marianas College and a Bachelor's of Arts in elementary education from the University of Guam. Governor Palacios and Lieutenant Governor Apateng have complete trust and confidence on Ms. Babauta to serve as a member of the Commonwealth Election Commission. Her experiences, credentials, and commitment to serving the Commonwealth make her an outstanding candidate for this role. We are confident that she will be well prepared to answer any questions you may have and present her visions for the future, and we kindly ask for your expeditious approval. Thank you, Jesus Mossy Zangiliso, for the opportunity to introduce her to this august body.
Thank you, Mr. Regis. And just to introduce the committee members in session today, to my far left, I have Senator Donald Magnolia, Chair of the Fiscal Affairs and Health and Welfare Committee here in the Senate. To my right, we have Senator Karina L. Magofnia. She also chairs the Resources, Economic Development, and Gaming Programs and Gaming Committee. And then to her right, we have Senator Paul A. Magnolia, longest serving elected official here. He chairs the Public Utilities, Transportation, and Communications Committee. Also, our LB professional staff assisting committee this afternoon. We have our legal counsel, Mr. Jose Bermudez, our legislative assistant, Mr. Devin Macaronis, our IT assistant, Mr. Delbert Camacho. Happy birthday, Delbert. Today's his birthday. We have our sergeant at arms to keep order and decorum at all times in the chamber. We have Mr. John De Leon Guerrero, and outside in the lobby, we have Mr. Ben Terlahi. At this time, I would like to ask everyone for your cooperation to please silence all your electronic devices. The committee appreciates minimal distractions while we are in session. Thank you. I will now open the floor for public comments. For those who wish to come up and make public comments, we will give you 5 minutes pursuant to our rules. And also, we ask that you please state your name and the entity you represent for the record. The floor is now open for public comments. Yes, please.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Geraldine Rogers, and my entity is that I'm a cousin to this beautiful lady. We share 12.5% of our DNA. Her mom, Auntie Margaret, and my mom, Silveria, are sisters, and we are the descendants of Isidro Sablantadella and Rosa Palacios Cabrera. I want to greet you, Chairwoman. Thank you for this opportunity, along with all of the senators here and our guests in the gallery. I just appreciate this opportunity. Today, I just want to share with the committee about all the reasons why Susan Rose Tadella Babauta is the most excellent member and candidate for the Commonwealth Election Commission. In a public entity, there is always going to have there should be collegial conversation for decision making, and we know that the Commonwealth Election Commission will be undergoing that in the many coming months. So it's some things that I'd like to borrow from the Maugus at Northern Marianas College. Dr. G starts with these meeting norms, and so I'd like to introduce these to you as our guide for why I think that Sue, from when we grew up, I just knew her as Susie. You can hear Auntie Margaret just yelling her name, Susie! But anyway, so there are a few things that Dr. G does for every meeting, and that is he encourages respect, he encourages debate, he encourages contribution, honoring time, honoring privacy, and honoring consensus. So I want to speak to each of these as we celebrate Sue. So in regard to respect, I feel like it just embodies respect from the people that she encounters. I remember we were at a 4th of July Liberation Day parade, and it began to rain, and we just happened to have umbrellas and a tent, and there were people that were just rushing to come in the tent, and she is no respecter of persons. It doesn't matter the nationality, ethnicity, she welcomes all, especially if they have a baby. So one of our cousins who's not as nice city, this is our tent, and she said, no, come say nanny, the baby. So this is a woman who will respect every person and will hold to that. In regards to contribution, she has contributed to my childhood. She is just slightly older. I'm quoting you, just by a few years. But when I was little, her house was the house to go to when we lived in California. So we would go to Sue's house because it was very close to Circus in Las Vegas, and of course Disney Land. And so when we went, the most memorable thing is that she taught us how to draw houses and flowers. And as a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, that's a big deal. So she just took the time, and I just want to say that she is an educator to this day. And I just heard that she retired in 2005. I didn't know that, and yet we are 2 decades past that, and she is still in education. She is still going strong, and I love the passion that she has, for reading and making sure that the kids, the children of the Northern Marianas are able to go and have those reading skills so they can be better citizens and so they can contribute to this beautiful island that we have. In terms of debate, she can fight. She can fight. She will fight for us, and she will fight for everybody. That way, there is equity on the Commonwealth board. And so, one example is that she will debate with her brother, right, with Isidro. So I think way back when we were at Super Typhoon U2 together, and I think must have been a debate about who would get to go to Auntie Bereng's house. So she did not. I think she lost that fight, and so Sichu got to go to Auntie Bereng's house, and we weathered that storm many years ago. So that's an example of debate. But you guys, I don't see debate from her in terms of just family. She is that quiet one. She won't debate where, she puts people down. She's not condescending. And I've seen her time and again just show respect for other people, and most especially as a wife and a mother. I've seen her, we just sit in the car, and maybe they're having a conversation, and we will go into the store together, and I just see her respecting every individual. She is a beautiful wife to her husband, John. When I've seen them come to our Thanksgiving gatherings, maybe that year, we've experienced a family loss. One year they lost Mary, the oldest sister. And, we were going around the table just saying, what are we grateful for? And she paused and looked at John, And it just was very difficult for him to share. And so she said, let me share on behalf of my husband. And I just thought, what a beautiful way to honor him. I've just seen that time and time again in their over 20 years of marriage. 24? Yes, so it's coming on 24 years. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was that she will honor time, honor privacy, and honor consensus. And that is probably not something that I could speak to from this point. But you guys, she was the vice president for the Tudela reunion. We did that way back in April of 2000. And in that capacity, she was amazing. She wasn't a strong arm, for all the decisions that we made every Saturday at Auntie Esco's Bakery. She wasn't going to push her agenda. We had an open agenda of what everybody wanted to do, whether it was the buffet at the final reunion, where we went at Garapan Memorial Park over at Sugar King. It wasn't about what she wanted. She recommended some items, and then it ended up being, okay, everybody, we're going to holla the color. Whatever color you holla, that's going to be your color for your t-shirt. That's going to be the meal that you get. That's going to be everything. And she was just beautiful that way. If there was going to be debate, she would be the one that says, well, let's look at the ideas that we've got before us, and let's go ahead and take a vote. And so that's what we did every Saturday from January all the way until we had the event in April. And so these are the reasons why I think that Susan is going to be such an excellent member. And I thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. The floor is still open for public comments.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chairwoman Babauta and honorable members of this committee. My name is Carmen Sablan. I'm here today to speak on behalf of former Precinct 4 Representative Sheila J. Babauta. She could not be here today as she is attending a conference off island, and she has written the following statement. It is with great enthusiasm that I write in support of the nomination for Mrs. Susan Riva Babauta to serve on the Sinamay Election Commission. Sue, as she is most lovingly known to many, has greatly impacted countless members of our community. As a retired educator, she has touched the lives of thousands of students, fellow educators, and families, and she still continues to serve in the public school system at Tinopec Middle School. She is a supportive and loving wife to John Q. Babauta and an amazing mother to Nancy and Jessica. She is family-oriented and believes we must keep our families and our future generations at the core of everything we do. Sue has a long history of service in our community, whether it be volunteering to be a CCD teacher at San Roque Parish, participating in beach cleanup, or supporting community events and fundraisers. Sue is a prime example of what it means to be deeply rooted in our community. She models inafamaulik, the Chamorro value of reciprocity, to make good, to nurture and to sustain relationships, a value that centers community and cooperation. In 2018, I decided to run for a seat in public office as a Precinct 4 representative, and I asked Sue to serve as chairwoman for my campaign. Through our work and experience, our relationship deepened. I learned so much more about this amazing human being and saw her in action. Her commitment to the campaign, patience with event planning, humility as we spoke with community members, and transparency with documentation was a glimpse of her trustworthy character. With her leadership, we ran a successful campaign and reached a new record of most votes in Precinct 4 election. Sue continued to serve in the election space as a poll supervisor and again as my chairwoman for the 2020 election. Her experience with community outreach, election campaigns, receiving election-related training, and actively participating in the election process makes her a great fit for this position. It will allow her to contribute a valuable perspective on the Election Commission. She has a motivated energy and a positive attitude that will foster a working environment to ensure a fair, honest, orderly, and impartial election process, the very function of the Commonwealth Election Commission. I would like to thank Governor Palacios and Lieutenant Governor Apatang for this nomination and for having faith in her ability to serve. Thank you to this honorable committee and members of the Senate for your time. We are truly blessed to have Mrs. Susan Riva Babauta as part of our very own community. I look forward to your swift confirmation, and I am honored to submit my support for the record. Sidus Maasi, Giliso, and Kalangan. With gratitude, Sheila J. Babauta.
Thank you, Ms. Sablon. May we ask you to email the public comments you just provided so it could be made part of our records today? Thank you. The floor is still open for public comments.
Half a day, tiro wami amaga tumaluani zan inadzuus panahamzu iman tunadzun na man membrun I senadot kun lulotnya STE Senate EAGI na committee. Madam Chairwoman, Senator Babauta, Senator Manglotnya, Senator Magofnya, and of course Senator Senior Manglotnya. Jadi man distinguizun na mangatsung mizu gwinigi I Senate. Kwahu ilahin mizu telun mizu bisinun mizu si John Oliver Bolis de los Reyes Pangilinan Cabrera Palacios Gonzalez. Zangina sa Kwahu no Suzuki. Sumen magovzo tatlo bay hudanya ihamzu. No, I'm obviously a widow and a father of 3 sons. And for some reason, Madam Chair, it's been women that I've been coming to really throw my support in. And that's cool. It's good because it's a celebration of our 5 decades since we become a Commonwealth in political union with the United States. So I come every day I remind myself there's sunrises. And the nai agradecimiento si Zeus ni gracias ni bendición every sunset. And my regimen is to go and work out for sunsets because it's therapeutic. I mean, it's really cool. And so today I woke up and say, what's to celebrate? Hafa parata abiba. And we taught our sons, and in fact, when they had their baptisms, we always give out the afaizu magnets for the afaizu icebox on the prayer of afazinu a child, prayer for a child, because in that prayer is for a child is about praising people. What do we wake up and who do we praise? What do we praise? So today I praise Esti Fionnu Giacagweku Ihagan Marianas, si Susan Rose Tudela Riva Babauta. Sumen maguvzo sa kanaha moski almost 30 years maestra ta inkodga para hu fanogwi famagunta za na maguf sa apinitizi famagunta taimanu apinitizi dos na haganiya si Nancy and si Jessica. Za izipagun na idos podgun ihaganiya hagota mastira papanya za manggugupo pagusafa di Nancy man maluluk ni hagigimagas John and si Sue man mafanogwi maulik. Pues man la pagu za ta abiba hino. Dos. Tinisisari mas baysangan na apinitizi itaw-tawta za ina u angokku za tenga bahu angokugui na upinitizi lokwi gumwadya pumulan iginasgas gi tempun kada elections. CEC, the Commonwealth Election Commission, holds a special role as a bastion of public trust, mandated no less to preserve and safeguard basic tenets of enduring public trust in government, including our sacred electoral process, biannually and throughout the year as a thriving democracy. We must uphold, they must uphold as members of the commission, entrusted with the highest fiduciary trust to ensure clean, fair, transparent, orderly voter registration process, conducting of elections, and accountability with tabulations. As board members, I respectfully ask that please represent us and uphold that fiduciary public trust by ensuring swift processing and an automated machine counting, verification, and quick turnaround of tabulated votes, and not overnight delays, please. No, Senator Manglonia at the last hearing, and all of you, as with Ms. Kileleman or Rabauliman, CNT, we talked about that issue. I would also like to respectfully ask that the commission, with support from the legislature and the administration, allow immediate implementation or soon of online registration processes that's convenient through an automated built-in regulated analytics. No, so kosakiti ni saru ta print za no tamis i-laundry, tamis i-medical appointment, i-Medicare, todo after siya sa debit ta printout gay o trotano ta finma ta na notarized pista na ano tati. And in fact, I want to say, Ms. Babauta, na one of the issues that many have been bringing to my attention in my fun, enjoyable, insightful house-to-house visits is the issue with unreturned absentee ballots. And do they have to re-register? Senator Manglonia and all of you again echoed the same sentiment. And I think it's incumbent upon all of us to make sure that the processes, whatever we identify with, is funded and that it is entrusted to make sure that we safeguard that public trust. And lastly, and not least, prioritize the NMD registry process, por favor, to procure the requisite machine to register and process NMD cards. Mga batananga estaki manginatsa hit induktu in the last minute, especially in view of the quintessential role delegated to CEC as a steward of public trust for our people of NMDs. As president of NMDC, I have been respectfully asking the former Santi Julie Villagomez and now her successor, Ms. Igito, to please let us know when is this being done? Is the money to procure the machine done? And is it being prioritized? Equally important as with the biannual elections process. And good luck, Miss Susie Rose, Tadela, Riva Babauta. We're so excited, and we thank Governor Palacios and Lieutenant Governor Apatang. And I respectfully urge this August body to please act swiftly on her nomination, because she would be an asset to the institution. Si Zeus Masi ni Tempon Mizo, Hiliso, bal all my remi, za maila zata apipit, zanta azuda, zanta gupti, si Hagan Marianas, si Ms. Babauta. Si Zeus Masi.
Si Zeus Masi, Senor John Oliver Bolus de los Reyes Pangilinan Gonzalez, and eternally Suzuki. The floor is still open for public comments.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman Babauta and honorable members of this committee. Inaano si Isidro Iguel Cani, I'm from the northern part of the island, Talabok, and I'm here in support of my friend, my sister, and my colleague in education, Miss Susan Riva Babauta. I have known Sue throughout our educational careers, and I've seen that Sue has gone tremendously to install proper education to our children throughout those many years that she served the different public school system. And I also have confidence that Sue will be a very good vital member to become in the Board of Election Committee. And I know that she will possess that quality because Sue has a tremendous quality in discipline, in character, and also in our social areas of our youth programs. And I do believe that Sue's contribution to the board will give her that experience also, as just like in her education career. She can do and accomplish these things because Sue has that kind of inner drive, energy that she can come and come in and contribute to the board. And I do here solicit my support on her nomination or confirmation to become a board member. Thank you, Iliso and Tirowami.
Sidusmasi, Senor Kani. The floor is still open for public comments. If there are no other individuals who wish to make public comments, we will now close that portion of the agenda. For the record, the committee received no letters in opposition of the nomination of Ms. Sue Babauta, and we received letters of support from the following individuals: Ms. Jessica R. Babauta, Ms. Anna Yamada, Ms. Malia K. Johnson, Ms. Amor Rabalderman, Ms. Junie T. Folliott, Ms. Marcel Monchanin, Mr. Martin Del Sasso, Ms. and my ASL teacher at NMC, Ms. Mystica Kaipet. Welcome, Senora Kaipet. Ms. Susan Babauta was nominated by then Acting Governor David Mundu Apatang to serve as a member of the Commonwealth Election Commission to represent the Third Senatorial District of Saipan and the Northern Islands. The EAGI committee has an important responsibility of considering the qualifications and suitability of Ms. Babauta to serve as a member of this important board. It is a critical duty, and I appreciate the contributions of each of the members of this committee for their understanding, their commitment, and their cooperation during this process. Democracy empowers citizens to have a say in how they are governed. Through voting and participation in the political process, people can choose their leaders and influence the decisions that affect their lives. A core principle of democracy is the idea that all citizens are equal before the law and have an equal opportunity to participate in society. This helps to prevent tyranny and ensure that everyone has a stake in the success of their own country. Democracy is not without challenges, though. It can be slow-moving, and it requires constant vigilance from the citizens to protect it. However, the benefits of democracy far outweigh the drawbacks. It is a system of government that is built on the idea that people are ultimately in charge, and that is something worth fighting for. Ms. Susan Babauta, I now ask you to please rise and raise your right hand. And I recognize our LA, Mr. Devin Macaranas, to administer the oath.
Susan R. Babauta, you do solemnly swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you shall give in the matter at hand shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you. You may be seated, Ms. Babauta. I will now give you the floor to provide any opening remarks you may wish to do so at this time.
Half a day and good afternoon, EAGI Committee Chair Selena Babauta and the EAGI committee members, along with family members, friends, and all those watching online. I come before you all to speak on behalf of myself for being nominated as a board member for the Saipan and Northern Ireland seat in the Commonwealth Election Commission. I am truly honored to have been nominated, and I thank Governor Arnold Palacios and Lieutenant Governor David Apatang for this nomination. I was asked if I would be interested in sitting on a board for one of the government entities. I was really enthusiastic when the Election Commission was mentioned. I have felt a positive connection with this entity ever since my first experience when I was hired as a poll supervisor in the last general election, and soon afterwards in the runoff election in the same capacity. Other election experiences I have gained is exercising my right to vote for many past elections, but mostly while I was in the capacity as being a political chairwoman. With these educational experiences and guidance from many professional and caring individuals, I believe it is just enough and a good start for me to be able to support the Commonwealth Election Commission and its mission statement, which states to ensure a fair, honest, orderly, and impartial election process. Along with experiences, possessing skills are another strength of mine. I hone and will incorporate professional and people skills that I have learned throughout my professional work and community experiences that will support me to do the commission tasks and purpose. Such skills as leadership, technology proficiency, teamwork, problem solving, data analysis, and professionalism, amongst many others, will aid me to prove my ability to get the job done. With this, I am truly thankful for this opportunity and hopeful that I will be appointed to serve in this important capacity. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Babauta. And before I forget, we have one additional letter of support from Ms. Nancy R. Babauta. At this time, we will begin the question and answer portion of the hearing, and I will first recognize Senator Paul Manglona from Rhoda.
This Monsi, Madam Chair. Buenas, Sue.
Buenas.
Thank you, Better Way, for accepting this nomination by Governor and Lieutenant Governor. No,
Yes.
I know in the last Board of Election nominee hearing, I asked several questions, and I just want to kind of repeat it just so I know, and we hear that you're very experienced. We hear from all the people coming up to testify on your behalf, and based on your resume, we all are confident that you are very experienced and you're very good for this, to represent the people of Saipan on this election board, and that's why I'm very grateful that you have accepted this appointment.
Thank you.
I have several questions or points I want to make so that you are aware. One of them is, as you know, under Public Law 12-18, that one of the last comprehensive election laws that we passed. I made an amendment in that law, and that amendment was to require that off-island voters, if they request for absentee ballot, that when the Board of Election or CAC receives that, within 48 hours, their name should appear on an online listing, so that they know that they have received their application. Because in prior to that time, people will be calling in, flooding their lines. Back then there were no emails, right, and only fax machine maybe, and so they were flooding their lines asking, "Hey,
Did you
I
receive
mailed my request 1 month ago, and the election is next week, and we haven't received our ballots." Right, so those are the kind of concerns that were coming up. So that's why we put that in the law. I believe 48 hours, your name should be there on the list, so that you know that your ballot is coming. But then with that, there are, we cannot write everything, spell everything out in the law, and there are still problems there, because I might fax my request. And by the way, I think John Gonzalez was mentioning about online application, right? We should continue to look in that direction. But for now, the only way that you can receive a ballot is if
the
you download a CAC form, fill it out, and mail it, or they allow also faxing, to fax it to the office. But I don't, or maybe even email, take a picture, attach it, email, they'll accept that. But even after you do that, you would find that there are instances where your name still doesn't appear within 48 hours, because maybe it went through the fax, fell down the floor, they didn't see it, or maybe they didn't open their email, or not enough staffing, and so they don't put your name right on the list right away. And so that's something that I think that shouldn't occur, right? I mean, and that's another thing I will bring up a little later about the staffing. So please look into that. I think that, and you're aware, you have 2 kids, right, in Idaho, and I'm sure that they've been voting in the past, and they probably went through these problems also, or have friends that went through this. So we gotta fix that up. I don't know how. I don't know. We don't need to spell everything out in the law. It's just, I think that voters expect that they mail it, they fax it, in 48 hours, their name should appear. Okay, and then just to follow up, of island absentee, I don't know why it takes a long time, even after your name appears there, for you to have your ballot mailed out. So again, we put in there that in the law that the board shall list the names of all the ballots that are mailed out to the voters. But I'm trying to think now. If your packet is not ready, then doesn't matter, right? So we don't know. I don't know if I'm the person. My job is to mail all the boxes of ballot. How am I going to be held accountable if I leave half of the box in my trunk, right? And I just go into the post office and I know all the Babautas are voting this way, so I'll put them till tomorrow, right? So those are the kind of things that we want to have confidence in. The people should have confidence in the system, right? So please look into that. I know that you do a good job in looking at that, and it's just a matter of trying to work with the commission and bringing it to the attention of the legislature, right? So the other thing also is John mentioned about failed to vote. Especially when and I'm not sure whether if you failed to vote in the runoff, they'll consider you failed to vote. But let's just say a general election, right? Because of the post office delays, and because they mail you your ballot just a few days before the election, right? And then you vote 3 days before you mail it. They do not receive it on time. Yet the CEC receive your envelope 4 days after the election. You actually voted before the election.
Mhm.
It's just it did not get there on time. So they shouldn't penalize you for that. They should be able to just look at the postmark,
Mhm.
and if you voted before election day, yeah, your ballot will not count, but your name should not be stricken off the roster list, right?
Right.
Okay, so we need to put that in the law. We need to change. And I don't see our legal counsel, but I don't want to have to repeat to him after our meeting later on to draft a bill, right? So, Devin, this is a request that there should be a bill out to effectuate that, because we discussed this last time, but we haven't seen a bill. But I'm gonna ask them to draft that bill to effectuate that, and also. You agree, right? You agree
Yes.
that they should not be stricken off.
Right.
Okay. The other concern is we allow Rota voters or Tinian voters to vote before election day. I believe 9 days or 2 weeks before, as allowed by law. Likewise, if you're from Saipan, you go to Rota, you can vote on Rota early voting, right? I'm talking about early voting. Yet on election day, and you assume that if you could vote 2 weeks before, you could also vote on election day, right? If you're on Rhoda, or in my case, if I'm on Saipan, I could also vote on election day because I was allowed to vote prior to election day past 2 weeks, right?
Okay.
But the law says no, on election day, you have to fly to Rhoda on that day. If you forget to vote the 14 days prior to election day. So again, Devin, legislation to effectuate that. You support that, right? I mean, if I'm able to vote the day before, why shouldn't I be allowed to vote on election day for Rota candidates if I'm on Saipan?
Okay.
So that's another concern. A major one for us from Rhoda, and I believe also residents of Tinian, is on election day, the polls are closed at 7 p.m. Yet they do not begin to count the vote until the helicopter comes to Rhoda, or they charter a plane to Rhoda, and then they bring along with them, I guess, from Saipan, the machines, the counting machines. So they will count it then, and sometimes that's 4 hours, 5 hours later, and then we wait for that machine to be used on Saipan also. Maybe those are factors in the delay. My concern is, and these are for the attorneys, but if we make it maybe an unofficial count, we can allow the poll workers on Tinian and Rhoda to count the ballots right then and there after the election. We can do it in an hour and a half maximum, get an unofficial result, so that we don't have to lock them in boxes and have them shipped to Saipan before we can even have any unofficial result, right? God forbid, an accident and all our ballots go down
Yeah.
the Mariana Trench, right? We have to have another election the next day. Or if the weather's bad and 2 days there's no
Delayed,
plane, we wouldn't know our results. So again, legislation, Devin, to change that and say, but we would like to hear your opinion. These bills would be referred to you for comments. So we'd like to hear your opinion as far as letting the poll workers, of course, with equal number of Democrats, Republicans, and independents maybe watching and counting, so that in an hour and a half, Rota will have its result, Tinian would have their results, unofficial results, and we can maybe say in the law that if the ballots go down Mariana Trench, that becomes official, right? But otherwise it's just unofficial result, and the next day the ballots can be sent to Saipan to make it official and machine counted, right?
Right.
So that's another concern. this year on for going back to off island ballots, this year on I was looking at your calendar, August 22nd, I believe all the candidates would have been certified a week before that or shortly before that, right? August 22nd. Then they will have official forms posted up on CEC website, and only then can somebody in California, Nevada, download that and fill it up, and then email or fax the request to vote. That's why they're busy down there in August, because these thousands of requests come in, and that's when they start, right, typing your name on the ballot envelope and packaging them to send. Why is it that we have to wait for August 22 to be able to download? They wouldn't even allow last year's form because they put a big date on the top, 2022 or 20 this year 2024, right? I don't think that should matter, the date. It's the request, and just indicate for what election we're requesting for, right? And why wait till August 22? If I know today is March, if I'm sure that I know where I'm going to be on November, and I know where I want my ballot sent, I should be able to apply today, maybe start in March, right? So that they can already start getting the names of the students or military people, those qualified to vote of Ireland, so that they can start typing the envelope up since March. And when the official ballots for the precincts are out, just sneak that ballot in there and mail it out right away, right? You don't have to start doing the initial preparation work. Okay, so I think we need a law on that, Devin, because it's in your regulation, and I keep bringing that up. I said, why should I wait, right, to request? They say, oh, no, because you need the form, and the form will not be posted till August 22nd, the day you can begin August to start requesting, and, you only have limited employees, right? So we need to change that and start today. Unless, of course, you're not sure where you're going to be in November. You're going to be an off-island voter, and you're not sure, then, okay, just wait till when you know, right? Okay, so that concern, I think, is major. The other one, and this might take a little longer to work on, and you might need to maybe review their law, because we still have 3 more years before the next gubernatorial election, right? Almost 3 years. And I want to review laws like in Alaska and maybe a dozen other states where I forgot what they call it, but I think rank voting ballots, where if you have 3 or 4 people running for governor, or as in the case of the municipality mayor, 3 or 4 mayors running, then they list you 3 candidates and you rank them. Which one is your first choice, your second choice, and your third choice? And that way we can stop this runoff requirement in our election laws, right? Because the runoff requirement necessitates a runoff election within a month, right? And we just talked at length about absentee ballot. I was telling the members, I looked at the last 3 gubernatorial election, and we see a drastic drop in the number of voters between the general election and the runoff, maybe more than 2,500, because they do not get their ballots in time, and then send it back on time. So, like Alaska, what they do is, let's take, for example, the last election in the CNMI, there were 3 gubernatorial candidates, and number 3 that came in was Tina and Leila, right? They were 3rd place.
Right.
So how this work would be to take all those voters that voted for Tina and Leila open up their ballots. We don't know the voters, but we know the ballots, right? So whoever is their second choice, let's say 2,000 for Arno, Dave, and 1,000 for Torres, they just add that up to their general election result. And whoever comes in first becomes the governor. You don't need to spend money to conduct a runoff election. We don't need to worry about voters missing, delaying with delayed ballots. So I think that can work. I know that in talking with the members, they're worried that they're concerned actually that the people it may not be that simple, but that's why we need to maybe ask around those states, interview some of them, and see how that works. But I think that that's something that we can explore. I think they're recommending that it's good if we have we can vote online or something like that, where it's easy to I guess to
tabulate.
run the process. No, okay. So I know that there are other concerns here, but maybe I'll give the opportunity for the other members to ask questions. Then if I still have something that I want to bring up later, I would want to be able to do that. I want to talk about voter challenges and voters that are registered in Guam and the mainland, and ballot concern. And so for now, that's all I have, Madam Chair, and I'm really happy to know that you're going to be there in that commission. No, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Paul. Recognize Senator Karina Magofnia.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Good afternoon, Mrs. Babauta.
Good afternoon.
Congratulations on your nominations, and
Thank you.
si Dus mga silokin yung accepta nomination po ron additional work outside of what you're doing right now. Thank you. I've reviewed your resume, and you pretty much have the necessary qualification to fill the seat. The one thing that caught my attention right when I was reading on the beginning is the question, why is the CEC board position of interest to me? And you had wrote down that this position is of interest to me due to my involvement in past political activities, including the position of poll supervisor to work at an election post site for back-to-back elections. During that time, I noticed a few things that could and needed to be improved for more efficient election procedures and operations. This is something I would be instrumental in supporting. I was then invited to apply for the stipend seat in the CC board. So I would like to ask you if you could please elaborate on what those few things that you feel needed to be improved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I did that. I did put that in my resume, and it is one reason why I really would like to sit on this board, because like I said, I can be instrumental. And for one example, they had to train the poll workers. I was a rookie, first time to come in, and they have had other poll workers many times over, throughout all the elections, and they put us together. If that were to be done differently, they should have asked the seniority poll workers to sit with the new poll workers and discuss things, because it is very different from what they do in a general format in one room with all the poll workers than if you are at the different polling stations. Yeah. So and those seniority poll workers are experts. They know everything. They are so amazing when we are in that room and all these situations are coming up from different people. And so they can really be instrumental to do workshops, to work in small groups or something when it is time to train all the poll workers. And another thing was, since I'm an educator and I work with English language learners, I am very detailed when it comes to reading literature, everything. And there were, with the pamphlet they gave us, um, it was something was that needed to be a little bit more clarified or explained more and edited. So, you're putting all of us adults in this position, and their literature needs to be updated. And it was just something that I thought would have been professionally edited and reviewed before they pass it out to everyone. So those were two of a few things that I thought I can be very instrumental with in setting that up and in helping with the literature and just getting everything squared away before the actual work that needs to be done for the poll workers, especially. Yeah.
Thank you for that answer. So help me understand, because, you know, for every new person new in a role, right? In your experience in 2022, as the poll supervisor, is there like a standard operating procedure that the CEC office had given out to the volunteers so that they understand what the role and duties are, and then also just having something in writing so that you can review, as a poll worker, you can review yourself and familiarize yourself with what the expectations are. Were there any SOPs for poll workers or supervisors?
Yes, there was that literature that I was talking
Oh,
about.
so that's
Yeah,
what you were
that's what I was
referring.
talking. Yeah,
Okay.
the SOPs for poll workers, for everyone.
Okay.
It wasn't different for poll supervisors and poll workers. Um, I don't know the term for those who are not poll supervisors. Yeah, but it was something that really needs to be. Uh, no, not the observers, the other poll workers, because you have the poll workers. There's two poll supervisors, and then there's two. Oh, not alternates. They're not poll supervisors. They're just poll workers, I guess. I don't know the term for the others who were there.
So
So
in your
there were SOPs, and that is what I'm talking
Okay.
about
So
the.
in your experience, was the SOP, um, is there a need for improvement in the SOP so that new poll workers or supervisors can come in and easily follow what the expectations are of them? Or
Yes,
okay,
yes.
so there need an improvement
Yeah,
needs to be
it needs to
made.
be updated, and it needs
In
to.
what way needs to be
Um,
updated?
gosh, there was. I mean, just to have the differences with poll supervisors and the regular poll workers, because poll supervisors, their obligations and responsibilities are very different when it comes to being inside the poll station than the other workers. It's yeah, their SOPs needs to be very very different and clarified better, so that they really know their roles when it comes to the election voting of the day.
Sure. What
Yeah.
are some of the potential impact that, you know, as a, if the SOP wasn't as clear, or, obviously it needs updating. I mean, what are some of the potential impact, that negative impact maybe it would have on the election if those are not taken care of and resolved in time for the election this year?
Let's see. They would. I don't believe that it would affect the election. Um, wow, that's a good question. Just give me a moment. Um, the impact that it would have towards the election. Well, probably they would. Yeah, there wouldn't be order, I believe. with maintaining and making the polling stations orderly and fair. They would no.
Would you say that that would have an
Gosh.
impact on the results of the election? Because that's a bit concerning. If
Well,
if they're lacking order, and the people are relying on the structure and the system
Yeah.
to work effectively, right?
Yeah.
So that the numbers are not skewed in any way. There
Right.
wouldn't be that discrepancy.
Mm,
And so I'm trying to understand how crucial are these changes that need to be made to the SOP so that it doesn't have a negative impact on the election results.
Yeah. Because the team that I worked with in 4A, they were, my goodness, they were so professional. They taught me things in just that one day that I was so impressed with, and they guided me and showed me, and they even caught my mistakes and explained to me, okay, next time, do this. So when we are in there in the polling station, they're a team, and it would be nice if the seniority supervisors are part of helping with to correct the literature and get their ideas and all, because I was just the two times, so they would really be beneficial to help with this process. But in terms of having a negative effect on the election, I don't think so. Because they know what they're doing, but they just got to give more credit to the poll supervisors, the seniority.
Sure, but I
Poll
think my
supervisors.
worry or concern is that for a new polling supervisor who's not familiar with the process at all,
Right.
I mean, what are some of the key things that they need to be looking out for, right? And if not trained properly, they might miss something,
Yes.
which could potentially,
Okay.
have an impact on the election results. So I guess that's
Okay.
what I'm asking. In
All
your
right.
observation, when you were in there, what were some of the changes that you feel needs to be improved or changed or removed? Just
Okay.
to protect the integrity
Yeah.
of the election process. So that's okay. Just
Okay. No, it's okay.
I'm just
It's okay.
curious.
No, this is it's very educational for me, to think
I-
about this.
Yeah.
But me going in as a rookie and learning there on
Yes.
site,
Yes.
yeah, there should have been more things for me to review
Sure.
and to understand.
Yes.
And like I said, if the seniority poll supervisors sat with me 2 days before maybe or something, and we go over what mistakes
Mhm.
could come up, and how to fix mistakes, and who to contact at
Mhm.
CEC in case,
Sure.
yeah, because it's really quick in
Is
there.
there a checklist or some kind of form of guideline that the poll supervisors are given to, like a reference guide, right? So
Yes.
if this scenario happens,
Mm.
these are some possible actions that you need to take, just some form of reference guide.
Yeah.
So that for a
Yes.
new person coming in,
Yeah.
right, you have some sort of guidance, and not waiting until the actual activity is occurring and you're panicking, right?
Right.
Everybody's busy,
Yeah.
and just and do you feel that the CEC provided ample training prior to the election? Like they gave you guys
Okay.
enough time to come in and train, or what do you feel like maybe it was like insufficient time or maybe rushing?
Mm.
Do you feel that maybe, especially for new individuals coming in, do you think maybe there needs to be a little bit more time
Mm.
provided to those to the group so that they can be properly trained and ready for election day?
There is a binder that each polling station receives. It's everything that the polling station needs to run efficiently.
Okay.
There are procedures and rules and information in there for the poll supervisor to keep in mind.
Is that binder accessible to the poll supervisors prior to the election so that you
No.
can kind of familiarize yourself? Because
It
I
is
feel,
not.
you sometimes when
Yeah.
things are happening in that moment, I mean, how do you know
Right.
to look through the binder? You're
Right.
not even familiar with the
Right.
content of the binder, right?
Mm.
So you're having to flip through everything,
Yeah.
and when you're in a panicking mode, sometimes you're just not able to process things
Right.
as you know in comparison to when you have the time to actually review and digest the information that you are reading.
Right.
So I think that this is why I'm asking if CEC perhaps maybe needs to provide a little bit more time for training, give the individuals a little bit more time to access those kinds of
Mm.
information so that they can properly prepare themselves,
Mm.
not necessarily memorizing everything that's in the binder, but at least familiarize themselves with the contents of the binder so
Right.
that when an incident should occur, they're somewhat familiar and they have an idea how to navigate through that.
Right.
So maybe that's just a recommendation
Okay.
when you come in to see if CEC can be a little bit more prepared when it comes to training,
Yes.
especially for new individuals
Right.
coming in to assist.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be very
Okay.
nice. And there's not enough training.
Okay.
We
So
had
please make
one
sure.
day. Yeah, one day of training, and there were so
Yeah.
many things to review.
Yeah.
It was really overwhelming.
Yes, I would think there's a
Yeah.
lot of information
Oh
to
yeah.
intake
take
and
in, yeah.
digest,
Right.
right? And not everybody has the same level of
Right.
processing information. Everybody has a different learning curve, so we
Yes.
need to be mindful of that and allow the volunteers to have ample time
Yes.
to familiarize themselves, right?
Especially the new ones.
Yes,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
the new ones. Okay, and then I'm not sure if you've had a chance to review the eccentric report for 2023.
Yes.
Okay, and just skipping through everything, I'm looking at the challenges that were listed on there, and I think there's about 7 issues and barriers that the CEC is confronted with. The one in particular that I'm interested in is the increasing the number of registered Northern Marianas descent. What is your understanding of that registration, and what is the importance of that registration?
Important. Okay. So the importance of this, in my opinion, is to get more of the NMDs to come forward and to exercise their right to vote, to be sure that our islands, our Sinamay, is protected and it is governed by those who they feel will govern it correctly, and just respect what needs to be done here on our islands, and what are the goals, and what can we help with. The importance of this is to, according to CEC, I think, is to continue to monitor this, because some agency has to do it. And if it is with the CEC, because of the voting status, your domicile and your where you live, and citizen or not, it is something that can be and continue to be monitored with this agency, because they have the information. Yeah.
I guess what I'm trying to figure out is what is the significance of the information that is gathered through registering NMDs, right? I registered to be a voter here in the CNMI. I'm asked if I want to register as an NMD. Sure, why not? But what is the information being used for? Right.
Okay.
I think that's what I'm trying to understand. What is the significance of getting, CNMI residents, right, to register under NMD? What is the significant purpose of this registry? And that's okay if you don't know the
Yeah,
answer
yeah.
today. That's fine. I'm personally curious. What is
Okay.
the significance of that? Whether or not it's with CSC or Indigenous Affairs, it doesn't matter to me. I'm just curious personally
What is the connection?
what is
Okay.
what is that data being used for?
Okay.
Yes. And
Thank you.
that's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you. I yield.
Okay.
Thank you, Senator Magofnia. I now recognize Senator Donald Magnolia.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Ms. Babauta, and congratulations on your nomination to serve on the Election Commission. I just want to, I guess I'll start off with where Senator Magofnia left with, and that's with the NMD registry. Now, in our last hearing, when the director was also present, she mentioned that I think the only time they really register an NMDs is through the voters registration process. And so I don't think there's that opportunity to get those who aren't eligible to vote yet to register. And so we don't have a clear picture of the total NMDs within the CNMI. And so one of the recommendations that we proposed was to do outreach, or go into the school, or maybe, and that's something for the commission to determine and see. And I was just thinking last week, I know when Senator Paul was on Rhoda, and we met someone on Rhoda who was talking about Ancestry, right? Ancestry.com or 23andMe, right? You can kind of link family members. And so I hope that that's something that maybe CC can look into and try to determine the lineage, or someone who has been away from the CNMI for so long and comes in and wants to register, they can kind of trace back their lineage to see who else they're related to, or but also maybe this could probably be further safeguards in place to ensure that individuals who do register are in fact NMDs. But then again, just gathering data, is something that is very useful to the other agencies that also rely on this data, such as MPOT, DPL, Indigenous Affairs Office, because when we asked them, they didn't know the answer to the question of how many NMDs are in the CNMI. Or there's no accurate figure as to what that number is. And so, I know elections only come every 2 years. And so I don't know how much work commissioners put into looking through the regulations and policies, whether it's done regularly or when it comes closer to election time. But if that's something that the commissioners can work on while maybe post-election, and so there's enough time to really look at these regulations and updating these regulations. Because again, like what Senator Paul had mentioned earlier, is that we're asking our staff to prepare these legislations, and that's because it hasn't been changed through regulation, which the commission has the authority to do so. And so, speaking of regulations, one of the biggest concerns brought up by our constituents is that, when they vote through absentee, a lot of their ballots still make it into the CNMI, but it's after election day. And so while they technically voted, they're considered from CEC as a failed to vote individual, right? And so after 2 elections where their ballot maybe came in late, they are taken off the list, but that individual had every intention to vote and had made several attempts to try to get their ballots in on time, but due to circumstances that are out of our control, that hopefully that's something that the commission can consider, whether it's to have an earlier timeline for absentees, and not necessarily restrict them to the same kind of timeline with on-island voters. So I hope that's something that could change within the commission and not have to wait for legislation. I know you spoke a lot about being a poll supervisor. You're also, you were the chairwoman for the past 2 elections, if I understand what you listed on your resume from 2017 to 2022. And so are you aware and are you ready to put that aside and step away from politics? I mean, understanding that you were poll supervisor, so you were involved in a political party, because that's the only way to get on the list. So is that something that you're ready to do and more, I guess, separate yourselves from the political activities?
Yes, I can be completely impartial, because as being as an educator also, I have to have that neutrality in my classroom also, because our kids come from different families and different walks of life, and so being neutral, everybody is happy and everybody learns more. And me, if appointed to this commission, yes, I can definitely be impartial and just let everybody understand that I am in this position now, and I can be fair and impartial, and I with everything that's going on, I will have that respect to the commission and from everybody.
Okay, thank you. And
Okay.
I just wanted to bring it up because it's you're known to win or help win elections, and so you'll be stepping away from that. And so, what is your opinion on the 7-day early voting? Do you think that's something that should continue or should be limited, or what's your overall opinion on that? I know as a candidate, right, 7 days is a long time for many of us. But then it's also, we've heard concerns from AG's office, OPA, because they have to stay at these polling places the entire day,
Yes.
throughout the 7-day period, which could be costly. And so, you've been through that, so I
Yes.
wanted to see what your opinion is on that.
Okay. The 7-day early voting is something that really needs to be reviewed. And for reasons, for some people who will be off island during the real election, the real day of election, for people who need to go in and early vote due to other reasons, their job, their family, whatever else is happening in their lives or in the community. But yeah, it really needs to be reviewed, and it needs to be fair. It really needs to be fair. And we need to review the resources, and it would be nice if there were SOPs, something to guide, and where everybody will honor the 7-day voting. I'm just going off the top of my head here, but it is an occasion where it takes a lot out of everyone, because it's an everyday thing. And when I experienced that firsthand, I couldn't really attend to it the way I wanted to because of my job. So, and then we had to come up with other ways on how we could make that work for us, right? But it is still needed, but it just needs to be reviewed, and they need to make strict procedures and rules and routines for that, which is something that the commission, can deal with and discuss upon before the election, and then pilot it. Let it, just try it out, and then get information from the community. Let them be a part of it, and see what they have to say, and what else, how else the commission can help to make that a better occasion.
Thank you. And with the election coming up this year, if the commission decides to, at least for this year, do the same thing that's been done, maybe this would be a great opportunity to get data as to the numbers of voters on each particular day, or the time, at what time is it the busiest. And so for future elections, it could be either shortened or shortened in terms of days, but extended in terms of hours. And so and again, this is just to eliminate all the unnecessary costs that goes into hiring poll workers, because those are paid positions, right? And so and I know we're in this era, our financial conditions aren't as great, and so hopefully that could be looked at. And I know Mr. Gonzalez mentioned this during the public comment period, the online registration process. I can't believe this hasn't been resolved till now. I mean, we're at an age where everything can be done online. You can register your vehicle online. Well, not here in the CNMI, but you can request for your real ID online in other jurisdictions. And so here we are in the 21st century, or in 2024 now, and that hasn't been resolved. I don't think it has been resolved yet within CEC. And so, I mean, you're still an educator. You see the advancement in the school in terms of technology. So how can you take your experiences there and bring it to CEC?
Okay. Yes, because the public school system does a wonderful job to keep its staff and its teachers and all stakeholders abreast with the most modern in technology. And so, being a part of that, I have had the opportunities to also, take advantage of learning all of what technology, the best of the best technology is out there. So, if appointed to the commission, and of course, the technology will be my right hand, because I know how to use it, and I am proficient enough in it where I can use it. I can guide others on how to use it. I can present it. I can just get everybody on board with the latest and training. They would need training, and I, for one, I can do the training. So that is how I would bring the technology into CEC.
Thank you. So that was all I had for now. One of my major concerns are, again, and I'll reiterate this, is the absentee ballots that get sent back and not meeting that election day deadline. Even if if the commission decides to not count those votes because it's exceeded the deadline, it's just to mark the voter as someone who did actually vote, and not necessarily take them off the voters list. And then the NMD, again, I bring this up because it's, we have MPOT that invests monies that are meant for these group of individuals, and so not having a full understanding of the number of people they serve, it doesn't give them that harder push to try to do more with investing those monies, or if the legislature decides to propose legislation that would allow for the benefits to be given to NMDs, we want to know what that figure is. And so what are some of the approaches that CEC can take to start getting people registered? Oh, and one last thing is the poll workers. I know you mentioned SOPs. This situation happened in a previous election where, at least for, I'm not sure how that's done here, but on Rota, when you have two poll workers from different parties at the registration table, one marks you off as coming in to vote, and then the other one issues out the ballot. There has been instances where the person issuing out the ballot has given out more than one. And so, I don't know, maybe it's something that both parties can ensure that there's one ballot going out. And so that's why we've also had issues of ballots not matching numbers with what's listed as how many came in to vote. And so just extra security there. And that could be addressed as part of your SOP. That is all I have for now, Madam Chair. I yield.
Thank you. I recognize Senator Paul Manglonia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me bring up this concern also, which I raised in the last hearing on the seasonal employees of CEC. Sue, around election time, a few months before the actual election day, all of a sudden there'll be like 20, 25 employees down at the CEC office. And I'm still not sure how those 20, 25 employees are hired. I don't know, we're not sure. I think the director tried to explain it, but I'm still not sure that we are still doing it right. How do you hire 25 more people to work for 3 months for CEC? Is it the governor giving down those names, or who are recommending for the hiring of those 25 people? So I think we need to be careful on that, because their job, for example, one of the things that comes to mind here is the enforcement, for example, on who are qualified voters of island. In the last election, or was it the one before that, all of a sudden there were like 200 voters that were challenged off island, and CEC down there were like Googling names, searching names, all the Rota voters, and they said, oh, that's good, right? But why isn't there one from Saipan or Tinian being checked? So somebody must have just recommended this list, and all their attentions are focused on these names. There should be a better way to do it. And is this what some of these 25 employees are assigned, got hired in there so they can start checking on some names? There has to be a system in place where you don't discriminate or select people. And there must be a better way. And so imagine they're doing this 1 month before the election, or just less than a month. I was alarmed at that time because there's something going on. And so I think we need to be careful. If we need 25 employees, how are they paid for? How are they budgeted? And how are they selected? So my idea, I think I raised there, was like, if we need 25, let one party select 25, the other party select 25, and then have somebody select, half from each side, right? You can only hire 12 from here, 12 from there, or something, right? And that way it's balanced. They check on each other in the office, so that if your absentee request comes in, they know that if you try to throw that or what, somebody's gonna find out, right? So I just that's something that I wish we can all feel confident there's none of this going on in that office. Okay, so that one. And Senator Karina mentioned about the training. We were talking about the training, right?
Yeah.
It's very important because
It is.
if the poll worker, for example, when you enter a polling place, right, first thing they do is ask you for your name and they check on the list, right?
Right.
Some people, they actually are coming in from Guam, for example, and they voted off island, and then they come to the polling place, right? If you're not an attentive poll worker,
Right.
they might give you another ballot, right? But
Right.
of course, what's your first job? You go on the off island listing, right, and check if there's a name is there, and they should have already been
Marked off.
crossed out,
Yeah.
right? So those are the kind of things that the poll workers have to be careful. Also, some of the rules, for example, in counting ballots, is there's no distinguishing mark on the ballot, right? So if I'm a poll worker and I know you're not voting for my party, I'll intentionally take a pen and put a mark on the side, right? So there's the distinguishing mark and give you that ballot, right? And if you vote on that and they open your ballot and there's a mark there, a pencil mark on the lower bottom corner, it's not a good ballot.
Right.
So those are the reasons why poll workers have to, I guess what Senator Karina is saying, to train them, you have to list ways that
Yes.
that if you're a dishonest worker, you were able to do. So you watch out for those. You train them to have a good eye for those kind of things. So this election process is done fairly, right?
Yes.
So
To be fair.
the same thing, they might be bringing in a blank ballot, so they put in 2 ballots in the tray because the other ballot was from an off-island voter that didn't vote. Give it to somebody and they hand carry that in their pocket right, and then they put 2 ballots. So those are things that the poll workers have to watch out.
Yeah.
And that's why they need to be trained.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So I just want to mention that. And the early voting, though, well, I'm concerned also because I know Senator Donald, it's a hot sun there for 7 days, right? To monitor and bring donuts every morning. But I hope it's not that. My concern, though, is if we're gonna have it, we shouldn't be very restrictive, because in the past they don't have it. They require that you show a plane ticket and maybe medical excuse, and then now you put that in the hand of one person to decide, and sometimes they say, this doesn't qualify. There's an arbitrary process there, and it's not good, right? Because then start looking for nurses or doctors to sign off on a medical, or you have to buy a plane ticket. So everybody's buying plane ticket, but they're not leaving, right? So it's either we allow it openly and let leave it up to the voter. If they need to go, they need to go. Let them vote if you allow it. But maybe reduce it to 3 days instead of 7. 3 days and open it up. My problem is it's more on those that in the last minute they give them their ballot, right? And they say mail it in. No, I like it better when they go in there, they vote just like the regular election, and they are watched as they put in their ballot in the box. That's cleaner, right? But I think it was the present way of doing it is a few days before. If you're going tomorrow on United, they say, oh, here's your ballot, go just mail it back. That's dangerous because they can go in front of their employer and vote the way they want. They can see your ballot and then they say, just mail it for me, boss, right? So maybe that's the one that we need to be careful on. But I'm not worried if they have to go to an office early and vote and then just secretly vote, right? So maybe reduce 7 to 3 days, 4 days, and maybe we should not allow. I mean, if they're leaving within those 3 or 4 days, tell them to go down there and just vote down there. Don't give them the ballot, right? So anyway, just that, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Paul. It is my intention to close this hearing by 4 p.m. We have an emergency session right after this called for by the Senate President, so we're trying to wrap it up. But before I close the hearing for today, Ms. Babauta, I know, and we all understand your limitation to be able to answer some of the questions, having never been served on this board. And so we take that into consideration too. Earlier, Senator Paul was alluding to the process of tabulations in the municipalities. Obviously, they do not have the number of voters that Saipan does. It's a lot less. It's probably less than 2,000. So it'd be easy to tabulate that unofficially in Rhoda rather than wait 5 to 6 hours for, you know,
I agree.
election commission officials or OPA or the attorney general to fly down there. They're down there anyways because they have to monitor the polling place. They could even be certified tabulators for purposes of integrity. It'll take an hour and a half to count their ballots, at the most probably 3 hours. So that's what Senator Paul was alluding to. And so should you be confirmed, we hope that you take a look at the regulations. So there's two parts of the Election Commission statutes. There's the administrative code, which is the regulations, and there's also the regular Commonwealth Code. Regulations are easier to change. The commission can change that and publish it 30 days for comments, and then it becomes law. It doesn't have to go through the legislature.
The Commonwealth Code,
Regulations.
the Commonwealth Code.
Commonwealth Code are bills that are introduced here at the legislature,
Okay.
and it becomes law.
Okay.
Regulations are also law, handled by respective boards and commission, and you do not need the legislature's approval for that.
Good to know.
Also, there's a discrepancy in, when you put up signboards, Election Commission requires that you get a zoning permit. And I don't know if that's still in effect today. I'm not sure if the regulations have changed, but the zoning regulation for signboards is that you must remove your signboard 30 days after the election. The CEC, which has its own code, the law, requires that you remove it in 15 days after an election. So obviously they're not in sync.
Right.
And you pay for the zoning permit. So if
Okay.
I were to have a billboard up, I would follow, and I've told this to Election Commission, I will follow zoning because I paid for that rather than Election Commission.
Right.
I just wanted you to bring this
Okay.
up to you so that should you be confirmed, you can take a look at that. And I've asked them to please take a look at it to synchronize it with other statutes that may be in conflict. One of the concerns, this goes back to the tabulation, that we often hear is the delay of announcing the results.
Yeah.
The longer the delay in announcing results of an election, the more our community harbors, feelings of distrust in the process, in the system, in the employees of the Election Commission. So I hope that should you be confirmed, you can look into that and see how to make it more efficient. Also, the other two concerns that we have is absentee votes are not broken down by precincts. So also is the situation with early voting. They're just lump sum, in one column, and it doesn't break it down by precincts. By law, I believe all tabulation results are required to be broken down by precinct.
Okay.
One last question.
Okay.
If confirmed, what are your priorities for the Election Commission?
If confirmed, the first priority I would like to bring to the commission would be to go back and review the challenges that the commission, that the executive director has put in reports and other reports that I've reviewed. Take a look at their recommendations and, take those and prioritize them, especially before, because the next election is coming up real quick, and things need to be settled and fixed and reviewed and renewed. So that is one of the priorities I would like to have the commission jumpstart and look over. And then, of course, some of the points that this committee has brought up, I would like to share and align it with the challenges of the executive director and other forms of, what the other things I've been researching in preparation of this hearing. So with that, I would start there.
Thank you. As promised, I will close this by 4 p.m. I have no further questions. Is there anything else from the other members? If not, Ms. Susan Babauta, you are hereby dismissed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
You too. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is miscellaneous. Do any of the members have any announcements to address in miscellaneous? If there are none, may I please ask Senator Paul to make a motion to adjourn?
So move, Madam Chair, to adjourn.
Thank you. Motion has been made and it has been seconded. Are there any objections to the motion? Thank you. There being no objections, the motion hereby carries. This meeting is hereby adjourned at 3:54 p.m. Thank you.